Hey, what's up, everybody? We back to the I've Been Falsely Accused radio show. This is part 21 with me, the host, Cogee, and Mr. Jeffrey Deskovic. Jeffrey, what's up with you, man? You all right?
I'm feeling good, Cogee. Yeah, how are you?
All right, this is our third and final hour, and we got one of those cases right now, Jeffrey, that's coming in right now, and it's almost like Mr. Lorenzo Johnson, and remember his wife Taza, how she called in, and she definitely fights for her husband, and we got Miss Tameka Donahue Brooks, and she's definitely getting ready to, fight for her husband. She wants to talk about Derek Brooks, who's been in jail since 2003. I talked to her a minute ago, and she was like, Cogee his case is going around in a circle. And I asked her, did you talk to an attorney about it? She said she talked to an attorney, and Jeffrey, they said they want $25,000. $25,000.
A lot of money, Cogee, but I cannot say that's. I honestly can't say that's a high amount compared to what people charge. That is how much they charge, and more than that. So it just goes to show you how critical organizations are that provide free representation for people trying to prove their innocence. Because if it's going to come down to people being able to afford to, pay attorneys, well, be there till the cows come home.
That's right. You're definitely right about that. Well, like I said, what we're going to do, we definitely going to bring her in a second. We're going to let her tell her story and tell her husband's story, and Jeffrey, I definitely want you to, dissect this whole conversation and, give us some great advice in the end. You know how you do in the end. In the third hour, I definitely want you to do your Jeffrey magic and, put on the right road and see what can we do to, get them in a good position. All right?
We'll give it our best shot, Cogee.
Oh, that's right. I mean, hey, that's all we can do. And that's why we do this show. We do this show for people who are unheard. We do this show for the lost, for the sick, the shut-in, far as prison, and the people who feel like they just hopeless and feel like don't nobody care. But believe me and Jeffrey do care. And, our whole public and all our listeners around the world, we want to say hello to you all. And we know y'all been supporting us and, y'all been giving us likes on I've Been Falsely Accused. And me and Jeffrey, we do thank y'all for that. So I want y'all to stay locked in and tuned in, and when we come right back in, it's time to fight for Mr. Derek Brooks. We definitely want to hear his wife's story, Tameka's story, and she's going to break it down to us about Mr. Brooks, and we'll take it from her. So everybody stay locked in and stay tuned in, and trust me, we are trying our best to help people to come home to win. We'll be right back. I can weather the storm. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to I've Been Falsely Accused radio show. I'm your host, Cogee, with my main man, Mr. Jeffrey Deskovic. Jeffrey, I'm coming to you right now. I just want to ask you, what don't our listeners understand about being a wife but having a husband in prison, and the wife is out here fighting for the husband? And then we'll get Miss Tameka right in.
The nights are long, the days are hard. It's not simply the person who's wrongfully convicted who's incarcerated, but in a lot of ways the family is as well. They can't really move forward with their lives. The trips to the prison are long and costly, and the guards do everything they can to, many of them, to discourage visitors from coming back. And, one of the more painful aspects of it is when it's time, the visit's over, the wife leaves, and she got to leave the husband behind, got to leave the family member behind, got to leave the loved one behind.
There it is. You're definitely right about that. And, we had Miss Taza, she's always on her fighting for Lorenzo Johnson, and Lorenzo, much love to you and your family, and he'll be coming home soon. So we're looking forward to having Lorenzo on the show. And it's been a long fight for Mr. Lorenzo Johnson. Am I right or wrong?
Oh, man, 16.5 years before he was finally released, only to be reincarcerated wrongfully a short 4 months prior to that, and he's been in for 2.5 years since then. Again trying to prove he's innocent. So the road for Lorenzo has been long and hard and unusual in that most people are not sent back once the court finally acknowledges that they were innocent and they were released. That's a horror on top of a horror to me.
That's right. And, like I said, my blessings definitely go out to all the families, who's going through this right now, who's got the head of the household in prison, and, the wives, our girlfriends, our fiancés, they just holding it down by themselves, but they stand very consistent on trying to help to get them out. And that's what it's about, and that's why we do this show. And I want to say, God bless you all, and keep doing the great work that y'all doing, and don't give up on those guys, because they really need you. Now, I got Miss Tameka Donahue Brooks, who's in with us right now. And I want to say hello. How you doing today, Tameka?
I'm good, Cogee, and hi, Mr. Jeffrey.
Jeffrey.
Hi, how are you doing? How are you doing?
I'm good.
All right.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, you know what? It's our pleasure to have you on the show. We help the ones to definitely get heard who are silent to the rest of the world, and we want to thank you for choosing to be a part of us.
Yeah, it was a blessing when I saw this on Facebook. I was like, wow, I have to be on this show.
Yes, ma'am. And I contacted you right back immediately. Am I right or wrong?
Yes, you did, and that surprised me too. I told everybody.
You know what? I feel like when I have people to reach out to me, I know it's serious. And, when you ran down to me what was going on, I knew it was even more serious. But more than serious, it's crucial to you all. Can you explain that, Tameka, what I mean by it's crucial for the wives?
It is crucial. Everything he was saying about, of course, financially, because, of course, they not locked up down the street. I travel over 200 miles every 2 weeks to go see him. And I know, that's the highlight of his he can go off of that for 2 weeks. I go every 2 weeks just by seeing my face. But he was so right how the guards treat you, and sometimes you got to wait outside in the rain, and it's hot outside. Like, they do everything to discourage you from coming to visit.
Wow. And I know it's rough, but like you said, with you going down there, and something else I want people to understand real quick. I know you don't have a roundabout number, but we just want to throw a number. What do you think in the thousands you didn't already put out, making sure that he's okay, going to visit him, doing everything you need to do, far as attorneys, far as everything, and then we're going to get on with the interview. But I always want to throw this out and let everybody hear that this is some real pressure on y'all wives.
Well, I can answer that question. Because with the phone calls, the stamps, the pictures, the visit, the commissary, the telephone connection, since November 2014, I have spent $8,000.
And you told me a few minutes ago, you talked to an attorney about taking this case and moving forward, and they want $25,000.
I spoke with an attorney, and he actually told me, he said the best thing to do is get a private investigator that's post-conviction. And I got in touch with one, and he told me it would be $25,500 just to investigate.
Wow. Where did your heart go when you heard that?
My heart went to my feet because I'm like, that's just the investigation. That's not even including the attorney's fees.
That's right. You're definitely right about that. Now, you know what? One thing I want to do, I want to say to Mr. Derek Brooks, I want to say, hello to you. I want to say thank you, for having your wife. And for your wife, y'all being a part of what me and Jeffrey are doing right now, to put him in our history of what we're doing to try to get people out. And I hope this conversation can be a great one, and this interview is going to be a great one. And Jeffrey, I think, he'll have some answers for you at the end of the show and try to help lead you on a better road. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we ain't attorneys. All he's going to do is just give you friendly advice. You get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Friendly advice to move on. But I want to ask you, why was your husband convicted?
He was convicted for felony murder. And what happened was he was convicted they had no evidence. They had two witnesses who was felons themselves, but they was the one who was found in the car, in the dead man's car with the pill bottle in his pocket, and they said, oh, Derek killed them, but Derek wasn't even there. So I'm like, how did that happen? How did that happen that they made him take off his clothes for gunpowder and all that, and they had no evidence? How did he get convicted with no evidence whatsoever?
So did the guys that they found in the car, are they still in prison too?
We don't know. We don't know what happened. We don't know if they cut deals. We don't know what happened with that. Like, how I thought it was against the law that two felons can testify against you. I mean, I could be wrong.
That's what I thought too when I read it, when you sent me the information. Jeffrey, bring us up to speed. Can two felons go against each other, or are they looked at as co-defendants?
Well, they might start out as co-defendants, but the government, the prosecution often makes deals, in which the co-defendants, they get a plea bargain that either involves no time at all or a minimal amount of time in exchange for testimony to incriminate the other co-defendant that didn't get a deal. I mean, that's kind of commonplace. So I've never seen anywhere where it's illegal for them to give an offer. What I'd be curious to know is whether, when they testified, whether it was brought out if they got any benefit in exchange for their testimony or not. That's what I would like to know.
I have his transcript, and I read it thoroughly, and it didn't say, and, my husband really just got a bad deal because the attorney that was chosen, from the attorney to, I know a lot of people in prison say that it's their attorney's fault, but it says it in the transcript. The judge said, you're not going to object. He said that 5 times. The attorney said no. So what does that tell you?
But you said the attorney also told your husband, don't say nothing. Just don't say nothing. And then when the judge was there getting ready to give him, your husband, his sentence, he said, why should I not convict a man who won't even speak up for himself? Am I right or wrong?
Yes, sir. Yes, that's exactly what happened. It's in his transcript. And I thought you didn't have to speak. I thought that was the attorney's position to speak for you. But he advised him not to speak because he had a previous record.
And he said that record, Jeffrey, he said he had told Mr. Brooks that his record, they going to play off of his record and make sure that they convict him. So it's almost like he got railroaded. He got really railroaded.
Well, to comment off that, Cogee, they have that problem in New York and a lot of other states. Another aspect of the trial system, which is not fair. I mean, this isn't really brought up enough. Actually, is if the defendant has a record, then the judge has to hold a hearing, and usually they determine that they'll allow the prosecution to use the defendant's record against them if they decide to take the stand. They'll be allowed to ask questions about it, and that really prevents a lot of people from taking the witness stand to speak up for themselves. They're afraid that their record will come in front of the jury and that they definitely will lose.
But Jeffrey, sometimes do you think that it's a gamble and you should fight for your life and you should get up there in front of the jury and get on the stand?
Oh yes, Cogee, I do. I'm a big proponent of that. I regret to share with you and the listeners that I listened to my attorney when it came to that. I mean, I obviously didn't have a record for anything, but my lawyer told me not to take the stand, that it wasn't my job to prove I was innocent. They had to prove I was guilty. He didn't think they did that. And, besides, Jeff, what are you going to add to your case anyway, other than you didn't do it?
Wow.
Those are things that are typically said to most people. I believe that defendants should take the stand in every case, and defend themselves. I think it's important. I think it's really important for the defense to put on a case and for the jury to hear from the person who's being accused, because even though by law they're not supposed to use that against you, jurors aren't thinking in terms of the law. They're just looking at it on a common sense level, and and they think someone's hiding something. Why aren't you speaking up? You're messing around and lose because of that.
That's right. You're definitely right about that. Now, Ms. Brooks, let me ask you another question. What else makes your husband innocent? What other evidence do y'all have that makes him innocent?
My husband had 2 witnesses that it was 2 females that was there who said he was not the one who shot, the deceased. They never called them to the witness stand.
Hold on. Say it one more time, please. The phone died out a little bit.
I said he had on my husband on the defense team. They had on the witness list 2 females who said he was not the shooter or he wasn't even there, and they never called them to the witness stand.
And why did they say they never called him to the witness stand?
Well, I was told the day of trial, the attorney called his mom and asked for additional money, and she said she didn't have it. So they felt like from that point on, the defense attorney felt like he wasn't going to represent him anymore.
Let me ask you another question. Are you the only one helping him financially through this whole situation, or does he have family helping him as well?
Right now it's me, and he do have, he have some family. He has some supporters, but financial-wise, everybody had their own bills and children, so it's really, really hard. But me and his sister, we have been out to Juneteenth celebrations, and I'm passing out cards and flyers and trying to get, more people aware and let them know what's going on. And they want to hear the 2-hour story, and then they give you 50 cents.
Oh, wow. Jeffrey, what you think?
Cogee, it's very hard to raise money. It is very hard to get people to contribute money. At the same time, hiring the legal help you need is definitely a route that people can take, and typically, most people don't have the money out of pocket, so you have to try to raise funds. But the road can be long. But I would suggest brainstorming with people who have successfully raised money for particular cases, and kind of learn from them rather than reinventing the wheel. I mean, what things have worked, what things haven't worked. I know William J. Mayo, for example. You could Google him. William J. Mayo. He has people that have fundraised for his legal efforts, and so you could contact them. Just pick their brain just for ideas. That's one idea I'll say.
Right. Okay. You know what? And Tameka, one thing I want to say too. I mean, you definitely got to stay on the grind with this situation. If it ain't something nothing that I've done learned since I've been doing this show is that you got to stay on the grind for your case, because the first time you let up off of it, it turns back into an old case. Right. And all your work just goes, undone for that time. It goes all the way back to one. Whenever you let it die down, it goes all the way back to one. And I've been hearing that through 21 of our shows that we done. When people say they let up for a minute, it goes all the way back to one. So what I want to do, we're going to take a quick break for a minute, and we'll be right back in. And when we come right back in, I want to talk to you about when people ask you, why do you believe your husband? Why do you believe he's innocent? What do you say? Okay, when we come right back in.
Okay.
All right, we'll be right back. So everybody, this is the I've Been Falsely Accused radio show. I'm your host, Cogee, and with my main man, Mr. Jeffrey Deskovic, and we got Miss Tameka Donahue Brooks. She's in with us for her husband, Derek Brooks, who's been in jail since 2003. And let me tell you something. This is some serious conversations that we having right now. Y'all need to stay locked in, stay tuned in, get your pens and paper, and definitely get ready to get a lesson today. We'll be right back. Never say die. Hey, we back, everybody. Welcome back to the I've Been Falsely Accused radio show. I'm your host, Cogee, with my main man, Mr. Jeffrey Deskovic. And we got Miss Tameka Donahue Brooks. I'm sorry. I got so many papers in front of me right now. Tameka Donahue
Not
Brooks.
Not a problem.
All right. Now, Miss Brooks, right before we went to the break, I'd ask you a question. When people ask you, why are you so convinced he's innocent? Why are you fighting and why are you standing this fight for him? What do you say?
When people ask me that, which that's one of the top questions, I always say, you know what? Because they feel like so long, like, why don't you just give up? I said, if I was in his shoes, and I know I didn't do anything because they offered him 12 years, but he didn't take it. He got a 50-year sentence. They offered him 12 years. He didn't take it because he didn't do it. So he said, how can I take something that I did not do? That means I'm saying that I'm guilty, and I'm not. That's
right. You're definitely right about that. You definitely hit that on the nose. Now, another thing I want to ask you real quick, and Jeffrey, get ready. I'll be coming to you next. I want to ask you another question. You stated that, it was people saying that there was no way that the person even looked like him at all when it came to pointing him out, right?
Yes. I was told, the guy was shorter, and they didn't favor. But the thing was, where the incident happened, it was in some apartments. My husband was in these apartments, but he was on the other side, so he had no knowledge of what was going on.
Oh, but he was in those apartments.
Yes.
And how are they keeping him in there if they have no evidence on him at all? They just have somebody saying, "Oh, Derek was there," and that's it. But no evidence, no nothing.
When I read the transcript, it seemed like it was only a day and a half of trial. It was just a day and a half for him to get convicted. they talked about a party that had happened 3 or 4 years prior, that it was a shootout and he was involved. So they really didn't even talk about the murder. So they painted him as a monster, like if he didn't do this crime, he gonna eventually do it anyway.
And that stuck.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Jeffrey, chime in.
Question, did his lawyer call any witnesses?
No, they let his mom speak, but he didn't. The two girls, he didn't call them to the stand.
Yeah. See, if I was a layperson advocate on this case, then I would make sure that I would have affidavits from those two women, stating it wasn't him, and how they remember the specific date. You got to anchor their memory to something, and find out from them if there were other people beyond them that had to look at what happened, and who could also rule him out, because there may be more evidence beyond just the two women. So they could turn out to be more than just witnesses. They could be like an informational source. I would look at that. I would suggest looking at definitely want to go over the police notes that they took, and see what other witnesses they spoke to. You want to get a hold of the potential witness list, which is in the trial transcript itself. When they're impaneling jurors, each side has to give a list of names of people who might be called. So you want to look at that list, get the list of people who might be called from both sides, and compare that to who did testify. And then somebody needs to speak with the people that didn't testify to see what they would have said had they testified. There might be some favorable information there.
Okay.
But another thing, Jeffrey, the thing about it is, with them holding him with no evidence, Jeff, I mean, what's your take on that? None at all.
Yeah, no, I understand what she's saying, but what she means is that, well, they had these two co-defendants, though. She really is, and when she says that, what she really means is no evidence beyond these two people who took the stand. But technically, They could convict somebody based on just one person's testimony.
Right. That's true.
So that's the issue with that.
Okay. Tameka, has anyone reached out to you to try to help? Has anyone heard this case and felt like, hey, maybe we can do something?
Yes. I went to an event in Denton, Texas, where I met a guy over his chapter of the NAACP, and he told me that we was going to hoop and rally and news and this and that, and he gave me a name to an attorney who said he does cases pro bono. I contacted him 10 times. No response. Then I called the man back, and he has not returned any of my calls.
Jeffrey, what you think would be a good move for her, at this
point?
point?
Let me just ask a question about where this is a Texas case, but where specifically?
Dallas.
Ah! Wow.
Yeah.
Now, Dallas. Now, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. They have a really progressive district attorney out there, Cogee, Craig Watkins. Many people have been exonerated. In fact, somebody recently with his conviction integrity unit, where they proactively review cases that are brought to them, or even cases that haven't been brought to them just on their own. There's a number of organizations out there as well. Have you tried the Texas Citizens Project?
I have tried about 7, and when I contact them, it's a 7-year waiting list.
Yeah, a lot of the organizations are swamped. Now, there's another entity that now they has Craig Watkins' ear. Give me a second. I'm thinking. You want to try to remember the name of it. Did you want to go Google? You can find it yourself, though. I mean, Google the name Christopher Scott. They have some exonerees down there. There's a lot of exonerees in Dallas that have been. I think the number's like 33 exonerated through Craig Watkins' office. But one of those is Christopher Scott, and they get together with other exonerees there. They have like a camera guy that kind of, follows them around, and they have the DA's ear, so they'll look at the cases and maybe dig around a little bit. I mean, you could chat with them and see if they'd be willing to look at the case and see if there's any directions to go. And I mean, the other thing is, your husband doesn't have an attorney now, but he could write the district attorney's office. I mean, a conviction integrity unit. I mean, give the DA's office's address, but you put conviction integrity unit, and he can proactively write on his own. Look, I'm innocent. I'm requesting. I've heard of your conviction integrity unit. I would like you to review my case. I was convicted of this. The informants were testified against me. This is the evidence. Here's how I'm innocent. Reference the two witnesses. My lawyer never called them, but they can verify that it wasn't me. You could make that move too, because I mean, there's very few real conviction integrity units where they're legitimate, not sham units. But Craig Watkins' unit is definitely real. It's fed more than like 33 people. I mean, one out here in Brooklyn and New York is real. Not too many others besides that. But those are a couple of moves you could. If I just remember the name of the Texas thing, you could try the. Now it left my mind. The Freedom Fighters. That's right. The Freedom. You could try the Freedom Fighters and try the Conviction Integrity Unit.
Oh, thank you so much.
Okay. Are you writing it down, Tameka?
You know I am. That's why I was so quiet. I'm like, I gotta hear everything.
That's right. Definitely, Jeffrey has a lot of great information. How long had you been knowing your husband? Before this all happened.
We met in junior high school. I was 12. He was 13.
Oh, okay.
So we have a very long history.
Right. And what made you go ahead, and I think you should have, but I know people want to hear this question because we done had a lot of women say, well, why would they marry somebody in prison? But I want you to let it be known why you loved him that much and why you married him in his toughest time.
Well, I was previously married, and then I was going through a divorce, and when I heard about Facebook in 2009, I grew, and saw how it worked. I put, have anybody, they call him Big D, have anybody heard from Big D? And then that's when I found out in 2011 that he was incarcerated. I had no idea. So when I found out and I searched his name, it was like 2,000 Derrick Brooks, and I didn't even know that was a common name. And I finally found him in New Boston, Texas, and we started writing, and at first, I thought it was prison talk. Everybody say the same thing, they lonely. But I have been knowing him for so long, and we had a good friendship. So, I married him because I loved him as a friend, and I even loved him even better now that he has grown as a man.
Wow.
Because, and I tell people, it's being a prison wife, is not for everybody. You really have to be a strong person to be in this position. But, I just love him, and I married him. I want to be with him. I told him whatever happens, I'm by his side. So
I heard that. And you know what? That's a blessing because we all hope somebody from our past definitely, contact us in our toughest times and say, hey, you know what? No matter what we went through, I know you're a good person and I'm down for you.
Right.
That's a blessing. I mean, hey, I give you a Toyota high five on that one for what you done for him. I mean it. But what did your family say when you told them, you was going to marry him and everything? What did they say?
Oh, no. My family thought that I was having a midlife crisis in my 30s, and I had gained 20 pounds. Oh, you just need to lose 20 pounds. You being desperate. And my family, I didn't have not one supporter. But as time went on and they saw me smile every day, when I was married for 10 years, I frowned every day, and I wore black all the time. And when they saw me wearing different colors, like, is that joy that I see?
Oh, wow.
And they say, how can a man in prison, bring you out or make you feel this type of way? And I said, it's unexplainable. And I said, I know I was put in his life for a reason. This is the time right now. It was meant to be right now.
That's right. I hear you. Jeffrey, what would you want to say about that?
Okay, I would say that it's critical for people, who when wrongfully convicted, having that lifeline on the outside to, keep you going from, keep your morale up. Contact with the outside is very important, and then even on a practical level, Coach, just having somebody to make phone calls and look up general information on the internet, stuff that you and I would take for granted. It's so easy to obtain, but you're locked up without internet access and very, very limited books in the library. It's hard to get access to everyday information.
That's right. I hear you. Tameka, how can our listeners help, and what would you like to cry out to the listeners all around the world and the different organizations, that help in cases like this? What would you like to say, right now?
What I would like to say to all the listeners, prayer is first, because I know I'm going to get 500 no's before I get that one yes. So just lift us up, in your prayers. You can go online to read more about the story, or if you want to send a donation, that'll be great too. And it's free, Brooks.com. So, I would just love to, if you want to send me a words of encouragement, that would be awesome.
Okay. Jeffrey, what would be your encouraging words to her and other wives around the world right now that's going through this?
Don't give up. The people that make it out are the ones that keep going, that the ones that feel like they can't go no more. They take a deep breath and they keep going.
That's right. I hear you. Now, what I want to do, Tameka, right now, I'm going to let you throw that love out right now. I'm going to let you throw it all over the world, because we're streaming all over the world. What would you like to say to your husband, Mr. Derek Brooks, right now? Uh-oh. Come on with it. We want to hear the mushy stuff. Come on with it.
If my husband could hear me, I would tell him that I love him, and we are one, and whatever I do is to glorify God, and God loves to see positive marriages, and I know people are looking at us to see what's going to happen in our relationship, but I just want him to know that I love him, I support him, and I have his back.
That's right. I hear you. Oh, you definitely broke that down. See, you say you was nervous. You wasn't nervous at all. You was waiting on that. You played it off. Okay, let me do this real quick. Jeffrey, you got any updates for us real quick?
Yeah, I do. Earlier on the show we had we had Sheila Rule on the show, and one really encouraging thing in New York that I want to share with people is she recently put together a candidates forum in which people who wide office, they answered questions of the criminal justice reform community. We would ask them questions about wrongful convictions, parole, all types of stuff. And to me, it was encouraging that we got such a large turnout, because normally the politicians like to ignore us, but having something like that was encouraging. There was an exoneration pretty recently in Dallas. I believe the defendant's name was Phillips, and he had pled guilty to a crime he didn't commit because he was afraid he was going to lose the case and get even more time. He did not request the DA to review his case. The DA did it on his own through this new protocol that they have, where they're going to proactively look at other cases, especially where individuals were denied DNA testing. And so this guy was exonerated in Dallas without even having an attorney, without even requesting that this case be reviewed. So to me, those things are pretty promising.
Okay, there it is. It's definitely some great updates. So you feel like things are changing, Jeff? We down to 4 minutes, real quick.
I feel like things are changing. I have another presentation I'm doing in New York. I'm going to be speaking in front of the Court of Appeals, which is New York State's highest court, and the appellate division, and some of the civil judges. So, to me, the judges were reaching out, wanting more information about wrongful convictions. How can they catch and correct wrongful convictions in the normal course of the appellate process? To me, that's positive. Have another couple of presentations coming up. Also, one of them's in front of some psychologists. They're looking more closely at false confessions. So, and then there's another presentation in New Jersey I'm doing on the 30th. About 311 people are supposed to attend, so I'm building a special component for them. You know, what is the state of affairs in New Jersey in terms of reform? So, I do think that we're in a key time. I mean, I think that we're starting to make some progress. And there's another case in New York. A story was just out where another one of those Brooklyn cases is being closely reviewed, but the whole case appears to have been falling apart. So I think we're on the verge of another exoneration here in New York.
Okay, there it is. So, Miss Tameka Brooks, so I want to thank you for being on today. And do you feel like that we did a good job for you today?
Yes. Mr. Jeff, he did give me a lot of good information, even though I'm here in Dallas and I didn't know about some of these organizations. But I really do feel that he's putting me in the right direction. So, and I will get right on it.
Get down, Jeffrey. You see what I'm saying? That's my man right there. That's how we do it. See, I bring it down to court and he do his thing when I throw it to him. I hear you, Jeff. Good job. So
I got a great point guard. I got a great setup, man. So, right back at you.
Okay. Now, real quick, you got 20 seconds real quick. Tameka, words of encouragement to all the prison wives.
I would say just, pray daily and know your purpose. So that would be my advice to you. Love yourself, love your husband and your children, so you know what you're fighting for.
Okay, there it is. But I definitely want you to tell Derek, that, hey, we definitely fighting for him, and you see what me and Jeffrey did today, and that he ain't by himself. I know he might feel like he's by himself, but, we never knew about his case. We never heard about it. Yeah, we never heard about it. But when, good people, good wives and good family and good friends reach out and they contact us, you see, I write back immediately because I know it's serious.
Right.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it because, trust me, I have written about over 500 people, and you was right away.
Oh, you know what? And, I'm here for you, and I'm glad that you said it because I want people to know that's what we do. We get right back with people, and we keep it moving. So I want to thank you for being on today, but definitely keep me updated on your situation. When you go find out the information that Jeffrey, gave to you, keep me updated, all right?
I sure will.
Okay, so Jeffrey, you want to send your love real quick, and we out.
Yeah, send my love to all the listeners out there, everybody in the struggle, the families, the lay people advocates, the wrongfully convicted themselves, people who are guilty but, committed to turn their lives around, trying to get back out on parole. And, hey, listen, it ain't too many media outlets of print, television, radio, or any type of medium that's willing to give voice to people while they're, that allege that they're innocent, while their case is still going. Everybody jump on board once they're exonerated. The key is getting the word out while they're still fighting, and this is one forum where that happens.
That's
so
right.
I'm happy to be associated with that.
That's right. We the ones, baby. I've been falsely accused. Cogee and Jeffrey Deskovic. That's how we do it. We want to thank our guests today, Miss Sheila Rule, Shujaa Graham, and Tameka Donahue Brooks. Much love to you, Tameka.
Thank you. Love that.
All right. So, everybody, I hope y'all enjoyed the show. We'll be back again next week. You don't want to miss the next I've Been Falsely Accused. Get people to join on with us, follow us. Much love to you guys, and much love to you, Jeffrey, and to everybody around the world. We love you guys. Have a nice day and be safe.